If you're aiming to compete at the highest level with show lambs, look no further than Car Club Lambs. For more than 50 years, the Carr family has been dedicated to building a nationally recognized program, producing elite show lambs that have claimed banners at all of the major shows across the country. If you're looking for genetics that can elevate your program, reach out to Mike at 319-361-6805 or visit Car Club Lambs on Facebook. If you want to hang a banner, drive a car.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Joe Show. I'm your host, Joe Steen. Today, I'm really excited to have Will Slagle on the show. Will grew up in the livestock industry, but lately, you may have heard Will's name for another reason. He's getting ready to do something a lot of kids dream about, continuing his post-high school career as a Division I athlete. And what I think makes Will's story so interesting is that his success in athletics didn't happen separately from his livestock background. The work ethic, discipline, and competitiveness he developed played a big role in getting him where he is today. In fact, those are some of the qualities that college coaches notice and value during his recruiting process. But I also want to talk about something that applies to more than just sports. What can kids be doing right now, whether they want to be an athlete, a livestock producer, a business owner, or something completely different, to build the kind of work ethic and character that will make them stand out in the future. So here we go. Will, thank you for joining me today. How has your summer been going?
Summer's been great. Just been staying busy with football and working and having fun with some friends.
Oh yeah. Now, for people who don't know you, who is Will Slagle?
So I'm 18 years old. I'm going into my senior year here at Grinnell High School. I farm and I play football, and I'll be going to Iowa State in January to play football.
Awesome. Now, tell us a little bit about your family's farm and swine operation.
So we raise corn and soybeans, and that side of the farm is called Slagle Farms. And then our family raises show pigs, and that side of the farm is called Winmore Farms. It's been a family operation for a long time. I grew up showing pigs alongside my sister. I don't show anymore, but she still shows. And then we actively raise pigs as a family.
Yeah, now tell me a little bit about the hardest job you had to do on the farm.
I'd say the hardest job I've had to do is we had a 10,000 bushel bin full of corn, and when it got to the bottom, the sweep auger went bad, which is the auger that rotates around the bin that sweeps the corn to the middle. And the sweep auger went bad, and so me and my grandpa and another guy, we had to get scoop shovels, and we had to scoop that whole 10,000 bushel bin down to the middle. So it was a wide bin. And
Wow.
that was probably the hardest thing I've done. It was like 100 degrees that day. That was not fun.
Yeah,
But
that would suck. Now, go back and think, what do you think is your, earliest memory of showing livestock?
my earliest memory would probably be, we actually talked about this at the open show at your county fair, showing at jackpots, like at your fairgrounds with like the poles in the ring, and like
Oh, yeah.
my parents and my grandpa like telling me not to stress about it and like just do figure eights around the poles. um like a lot of memories like that, just at like jackpots. I had a lot of good friends at Expo and state fairs too. Like we would just play
Mhm.
tractors like in the shavings, or like running around with kids at jackpots.
Oh, yeah. Man, those polls were so bad. I think I told you this last time. I was, we were at a jackpot, and I was showing, and I smoked a pole, I must not have been like looking forward and just smoked the bull. It was bad.
Oh,
Man, so a lot of people see livestock and athletics as two completely different worlds. How do you think they actually correlate or connect?
I think growing up around livestock and especially like like show animals, like getting in a routine of doing the same things every day and being like easy to change. I'd say that's more on the like I've experienced that more on like the grain farming side. Like you have equipment breakdown, like weather, something happens and your day changes and you just got to be ready for change. I think that helped me out so much with like workouts and stuff like throughout high school, like things can happen. You got to be apt for change in football games, just working every day, not getting burned out. You just get used to that from like growing up, raising livestock, showing livestock.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Now, what's a typical day like look like for you in high school? Practices, college commitments, and work commitments at home, on the farm, and in the barns.
So right now in the summer, we'll go to like lifting or practice in the morning, and then that starts about 7. Practice days, those start about 8, and then we'll run for about probably a couple hours, and then after that, come home, I'll change, get something to eat, second breakfast, and then like just kind of whatever needs to be done. Like there's some days where I'll go down to the show bar and help Anna. There's some days where I'll get in a mower. Some days I'm working in the shop. Just kind of every day is a little different. Just whatever needs to be done.
Now, Anna's the main showman in your family, and as busy as you are with football, what does it feel like to be on the sidelines or helping on animals instead of being in the show ring?
There's some aspects that I do miss, like, you know, just kind of I kind of miss the routine a little bit of like doing the same stuff every day with the livestock. Also
Mhm.
like the reward. I mean, you know what that's like, you win a
Yeah.
show and it's like that relief and feeling of knowing you worked so long with that animal. But I still get that feeling with sports too. Um, I There's also parts I don't miss, like when I'm in the show barn and Anna starts trying to boss me around a little bit. You know, Anna. She'll try to boss us around, and it's like, yeah, I know. When I showed in here with Anna, it was a war every single day, just siblings fighting. So I
Oh,
don't miss that
100%.
part, but I know it's like they're Anna's pigs, so it's like if she starts getting like that, I'll just step back.
Yeah, I get it. My brother and me have a bunch of domestic disputes in the barn about our pigs. But I always am right, because, yeah. But what do you think? So, can you walk me through an average day for you, like with practices and help on the farm?
Yeah, so like um we'll run through so like practice, I'll break down practice. So like we'll run through in like an indie which is like a individual like position period and then that'll run for a while. We always like it when it's longer because then we just get to kind of hang out with like our offensive line group and just run drills together. And then we'll run into like a team offense portion where that's like we break it up into like varsity and then like freshmen and JV, and then we're just running plays. Or we'll do like a blitz period where like backers they'll blitz, and then we just kind of got to change up our fronts a little bit for it. And then after practice, we all kind of hang out in the locker room a little bit. I go home, then I just go to work and just kind of do whatever needs to be done. I mean, there's some
Hmm.
days where like I got to help my grandpa with stuff. There's some days where he has to help me with stuff. Like it just kind of changes every day.
Hmm. Yeah, now let's get more into football. You're 6'4", around 280, and you're gonna play offensive guard at Iowa State. And but in high school, I assume you may have played different positions.
Yeah, I've been so my freshman year I started out right tackle, and then the senior that was playing left tackle graduated, and then ever since then I've been left tackle. For tackle, you kind of want someone that's a little bit taller and lengthier, longer arms. But I mean, at the
Hmm.
next level, there's a lot of guys taller than me even. And so I'll get put in the guard position, which I'm really happy with that. I worked that at camps like all through high school pretty much. And then the places that I've trained at, they've put me at guard for training.
Hmm. Now, I remember your mom talking about you growing up and that you were always a big kid for your size. Um, didn't she carry around like your birth certificate because people didn't believe your age?
Yeah, so at the early basketball tournaments, I'm pretty sure she actually did. Like I remember, so I used to play AAU basketball, like summer ball, and like we would just kind of like go around the state and play basketball. And there was a tournament in Des Moines where like we had this one team put together for probably a month in the summer, and like we were some big dudes. Like there was some guy, a couple of guys that were like my size, and then there was another dude, Tate Wallace from Regina, who's committed to Minnesota for football. He was a big dude. He was a big dude too, and he we had like three guys that could play post, and then they could like go outside and shoot too. Like it was pretty crazy, and so there was a lot of people, a lot of parents that were like, "There's no way these boys are the right age."
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I wouldn't believe it too. So for my Christian school, um, we did like just middle school basketball with some other schools, and there's some kids that are definitely taller than the rest and bigger than the rest. And the tallest kid on my team is like just 6 foot, which I mean, pretty tall for going into eighth grade. But
Yeah.
just like compared to this past year, there was a kid for Cedar Rapids team, and he was like dunking before warm ups and stuff. And like our center, he's like 6 foot. He was like towering over him, and it was just definitely crazy to see someone like our age that big.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now, according to ESPN, you were a three-star recruit, third in the state of Iowa, and 21st offensive lineman nationally. Does that sound right?
There's like three different recruiting websites, and they all try to be like different from each other so that they can like post and get clicks, to see if like something
Mhm.
changed. And then it always changes. So like 24/7 has me as a 4 star. I think Rivals has me as a 4 star, has me as a 3 star. ESPN never had me as a 4 star. I don't know. It just always changes. It also didn't really help that I wasn't able to play my junior year due to injuries.
Mhm.
And so then like I fell below in the rankings there. But going into my junior season, I was a 4 star, and then I was the number one recruit in the state of Iowa, which that's you can see how injuries can play into that.
Yeah, man, that's pretty crazy. So, and you had something like 12 verbal Division One offers at one time to consider,
It was
right?
16.
Six, 16. Wow. Now, take us through the recruiting process. Like, what was it like having colleges from across the country reaching out to you, and when did that start to happen?
Um, so I got my first offer in January. It would have been on my sophomore year, and that was from Iowa State. It was from the previous staff, obviously. Coach Clanton, the offensive line coach, was the one that came into my school and offered me. It was a huge shock, actually. But then, I mean, I got my Iowa offer as my second offer, and then after that, they just kind of took off from there. A big part, like, of one that really opened up was like that was in the winter, and then February is a dead month for recruiting. But then in let's see, March is when it all opens up, and you can go on like your spring visits in March and April. And then
Mhm.
I got a ton there just going on the spring visits. And then like that was an awesome period because like I was new to the recruiting thing. Like my head was in the clouds. Like I thought it was awesome. And then like June, I went to a bunch of camps and got some offers then, got some offers in the summer. just talking to a bunch of coaches. June 15th of going into your junior year is when the recruiting like opens up technically. So like that's when the coaches can actually contact you on your phone. They don't have to go through the coaches to talk to you. So like they can call you up whenever. And then that was a big turning point too. You know, like coaches could just call me and be like, "Hey, we want to start a relationship with you. We want to offer you a scholarship." And then like I would go to a visit or a camp or whatever. And it was pretty fun at first, but then like towards the end, like I was ready to commit. I committed to Iowa State, and then like I decommitted, and it opened up, and I'll be honest, I did not really like I didn't want to go through that process again because I mean you go through it
Hmm.
once, you have the fun, then you get sick of it and you want to commit, and then you decommit, you go through it again, you know, you feel like you've already been there a little bit, you just want to commit again.
Hmm. Now, like, what do you think is the coolest campus you visited?
There's a lot of cool ones. Penn State was really cool, the facilities and everything. I went to
Hmm.
Miami this spring. That was pretty cool too. I think part of why that was so cool though was because it was like really, really cold here, and down there it was like 80 some degrees. And we were like walking the beaches, and that was pretty cool. And the coaches down there were pretty cool too. Iowa
Hmm.
State honestly has one of the best campuses I've seen. So does
Yeah.
Wisconsin. Wisconsin had a really cool campus. Just very well, Wisconsin was right on the lakes too. And then there's like they have like beautiful hills and trees and old buildings. And they had a
Hmm.
cool dairy barn too, like with like old silos and stuff, just right along the lake almost. So it was just kind of cool. But yeah, Iowa State's actually one of the best campuses I have seen, not being biased.
Hmm. Yeah. So for the FFA state convention, we went one day, uh, and we got to like talk about the turf and like the grass and stuff. And we went on like their practice field, and that was really neat to see. Now, is there a memorable story you can tell during the college visits, even if you don't want to say the school, like a visit that sticks to you?
Yeah, so I won't say the coach or the school, but we had a coach that was going to come. I had an offer from this school, and I had been recruited by the school pretty hard. And I went on visits to the school, and we had him invited over for supper actually, and he was going to come to supper. And my mom had made ham balls, and I think cheesy potatoes, and we had a whole dinner set up. And it was for like I think it was like 5:30 we had it planned, and we're all kind of sitting around. It's about 5:30, and so I text this coach, and I said, "Hey, what's your ETA?" And he goes, "Hey, I'm actually stuck in the airport right now." And that was the end of the recruiting from that school. That's the nice thing about the recruiting process. You can kind of just like you just learn to tell them no, like if you're not interested, because then like they're not wasting your time and you're not wasting their time. They appreciate that just as much. And so that was a school that I said no to. That was weird getting stood up by a coach.
Man, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So, like, do you think coaches like the fact that you grew up on a farm and showed livestock?
Yeah. So there's some coaches that don't value it as much, but then there's like some
Hmm.
coaches that know if they know it and understand it, like they really appreciate it. So like this new staff at
Hmm.
Iowa State, a lot of them came from like North Dakota State and South Dakota State. And so a lot of them understand that. Also, a lot of them are Midwestern guys, and so they understand agriculture and like the work ethic, and they appreciate a lot of that stuff.
Hmm. Now, did the coaches ever talk to you about work ethic or attitude during the recruiting process?
Yeah, so I had a workout guy in Iowa City. His name is JC Moreau from Strength U, and actually one of his like bigger attributes that he kind of put me as like when he would post me on his Twitter and stuff and talk to coaches was work ethic. And obviously a lot of coaches really, really appreciate that, especially from an offensive line perspective.
Hmm.
I've had a couple coaches that have like they've like talked about, this is why we want Midwestern farm kids is what they say, is because of the work ethic.
Yeah. And to go more into that, what role have your parents, family, and mentors played in helping you develop your work ethic?
Definitely just starting at a young age, just kind of getting used to the routine at such a young age. And then it was like, if you don't do it, no one else is going to do it. So you better figure out how to do it.
Yeah. Now, how did you ultimately decide which school was the right fit for you? And can you tell us a little bit about the negotiation process?
So I always kept my main values as relationships and obviously good coaches, but like relationships from a coach's standpoint and like a player and team culture standpoint. And so I tried really hard to like keep that as my main focus, like through both recruiting processes and through, because it was a long process, from when it started to when it just finished this spring. And we tried very hard to keep those the main values. And, that was really what stuck with me both times with both Iowa State coaching staffs was the relationships I had with the coaches, with the players on the team, with the commits and the grade ahead of me, and the commits in my grade. And yeah, just the how professional those coaches are too, and how good they are.
Mm-hmm. Now, on my show, I like to play a game with my guests called Would You Rather. So with that, Will, would you rather go to a 2-hour Division I college football practice or spend a full day working in the barns?
Right now, I'd rather go
Or
to a full Division I practice, but I know there's gonna be days where I'm definitely gonna be missing working on the farm, definitely.
hmm hmm Will, your story is obviously largely about athletics, but I think there's a bigger lesson here. Whether someone listening wants to be a college athlete, start their own business, be a livestock judge, or pursue something completely different, what can kids start doing today to help develop the work ethic, discipline, and character like you are known for that will help them stand out down the road?
Definitely just getting in routines. Whether that's, whether it can be as simple as making your bed or doing something like that. Like I've heard so many things from actually a Navy SEAL that I follow on TikTok, and he would always say like start the day by making your bed, and then just go one thing after another, and then at the end of the day you come back to that made bed. I followed that a little bit, and then I kind of got sick of making my bed. But a guy that I trained with, he always said, never miss a day because you don't know what you're gonna miss. And so like we would have a really good workout and a really good day, and like I'd like take something away, and then it'd be like, if I miss this day, I wouldn't have caught that. If you miss a day, you wouldn't have caught that or learned that. And that one thing you learn could be what you take into your football season. That could be what you take into your camp. That's what could get you an offer. That's what could start things. So just never missing days, never skipping.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Okay, now you've traveled all over the country now with college recruiting. You've also talked to a lot of people about how you've grown up, and many of them haven't been familiar with ag. What's one thing you've heard people say or assume about farm kids that just isn't true?
There was a coach that was trying to tell me about non-GMO foods and like grass-fed beef and a bunch of stuff like that, and like trying to tell me like about like antibiotics and like meat and stuff and how we need to like stay away from stuff like that. And so I just kind of put the questions on him. Like I couldn't be rude. It was a coach, and I was being recruited by the school.
Mhm.
And so I just asked him, I was like, what is a GMO? And he kind of gave me a roundabout answer. And he was trying to, I think what he really thought was, like GMOs are just like chemicals that are just pumped right into grains and vegetables, which isn't true at all. I mean, it's a GMO can simply be, drought resistant soybeans, it's just stuff like that. That's technically a GMO. And, people don't really realize that. They think, we're pumping soybean seed beans with Roundup.
Yeah. So, okay, when football's over, what do you see yourself doing?
After football, Um, I mean, I want to farm. That's the main goal. I
Hmm.
think I could see myself selling seed, custom applicating, whether that's spraying or anhydrous, custom farming in general. But yeah, I mean, the end goal is to farm.
Hmm. Well, that wraps up the questions for today. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast and sharing your story with us. It's been really cool hearing how your experiences with livestock have helped shape you, not only as an athlete, but as a person. Good luck as you finish out your high school career and get ready for your next chapter at Iowa State. I know I'll be standing in the stands cheering you on, and I'm excited to follow your journey from here. Thanks, Will.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.